Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tara and this is The Planting Bug. And in today's video, we are going to talk about my Calathea Medallion. All right, so here is the plant that we're talking about. She is absolutely gorgeous. Let me go ahead and take her out of the decorative pot so I can show you her a little closer. Okay, so in this video, we are gonna talk all about the Calathea Medallion. This beautiful plant I am in love with. I am actually very much in love with all Calatheas is what I'm finding out. And they can be pretty picky type of plant and hard to take care of. But this one so far has been awesome for me. So let me tell you just a little story about her. So it is January, end of January right now, and I got her at the end of November. My girlfriends gave her to me for my birthday. So I was thrilled to get her because she was on my wish list. And I may have a picture of what she looked like when I got her because she has actually produced quite a bit of new growth, which is awesome because a lot of plants, even in the winter months, they don't produce a lot of growth, but she's done quite a bit. And I just haven't had any issues with her yet, cross my fingers. So let me go ahead and start with all the plant care tips and just what I have learned about this plant so far. But first of all, can we just talk about how gorgeous she is. I love the leaves. I love the detail. They're a lot more of like a hardy leaf. They're thicker, they're not thin, but I love the detail of each leaf, as you can see here. And then what is so stunning is the back of the leaf is this deep purplish red color. It's like red cabbage. It's just such a deep, beautiful color. I love it so much. But yeah, and each leaf is different. Even some of them have got a little bit of pink in them. If I can find one of the leaves here to show you. I'm not sure if I'll be able to show you. This one right here. I'm not sure if you can see that, but she's got a little bit of pink in her leaf right there. But as you can see, they all look pretty similar. They did have a couple of leaves had a little bit of browning in them right here. And I believe that's from watering. I'll kind of explain to you later why these guys are a little picky and you may see browning on the leaves. So anyway, let's jump on into what I've learned about the plant so far and all of the plant care. So Calathea medallions are considered a heliotropic plant. And what that means is their leaves raise up at night as if they're praying. So they're in the prayer plant family. And what happens is when it starts to get dark at night, your leaves, you will notice, will all stand straight up. I will try to insert a picture here for you to see what it looks like. It's really cool, but it's like they're praying at night and their leaves lift up and they, for the most part, stay up the whole entire night. And then in the morning, you'll notice that they open back up. It's really cool. I have another prayer plant. I believe this is I'll put the right name, but this is a rattlesnake plant. As you can see, it's nighttime right now and the leaves are already starting to raise up. And you can also see this has got a gorgeous red color at the back. But as you can see, this one has started to raise up, this one has. But by the end of the night, all these leaves will be standing straight up. I'll try to get a picture of this one also to insert here because it's just so cool. But this is the other prayer plant that I have that does something similar. I am going to do a video on this plant shortly. This Calathea medallion prefers bright to medium indirect sunlight. So I talk about this a lot on my channel. Most of my plants like this type of environment, but you do not want it sitting directly in an east face or a west facing window where it's getting bright, direct sunlight. That is not good for the leaves. It will brown the leaves and damage them. but it also doesn't want to be in a dark room where you're not getting any light. So I have my plant in a room that has a big west facing window, but I don't have it directly in the window. I have it set back from the window quite a bit. So it gets medium to bright indirect light all day long, and it loves it. Another thing that's great about this plant is it talks to you. I mean, you can tell just by how the plant raises up in the night, opens up during the daytime. But something that you'll notice is the very tallest leaf, like if your plant gets thirsty, the very tallest leaf on this plant will start to droop and curl up, and that's a sign that you need to water it. I have not noticed that on mine yet, it's just what I've read about it, because I am very careful with this plant in not letting it dry out. So let's talk about watering a Calathea medallion. So Calatheas are really picky with the type of water that they like to drink. There are, in people's tap water, there's a lot of minerals and things in there that are not good for plants, and this plant does not like that type of water. So you're going to want to water it with filtered water, or I live in Utah, so we don't have a ton of chemicals in our water. We can drink right out of our tap water. But what I do just to be safe is in my watering jugs for my plants, I will fill them up and I will leave them sitting out a day or two. And then that way any chemicals have evaporated out of it. And that works for my plants. So that's how I do it. But they also say like rainwater would be ideal for these plants. So just be really careful. I do believe that that's why maybe there's this browning on this leaf that I got. So I think if you see stuff like that, you might want to pay attention to the water that you're watering your plants with. Another tricky thing with Calatheas is they do not like to dry out. I have a lot of plants like monsteras, bird of paradise. I can't think of any others right now, but snake plants, they're okay drying out. You could maybe not water them for a couple weeks and they'd be perfectly fine. Calatheas really like to get watered weekly, sometimes twice a week. So yeah, you just have to be really careful, but you also don't want to overwater them. So what I do, for most of my plants, I use a moisture meter, but for all my Calatheas, I use my finger, where you stick your finger into 1 to 2 inches of the soil just to feel if it's moist. Mine right now is not very moist. It's actually quite dry. So I'm gonna go ahead and water this plant. I'll show you how I do that and try to explain to you the best way to water your plant, and just the tips and tricks on the right way to water. But going back to how often to water it, I really don't use a moisture meter. I don't go all the way to the bottom. I check the very top part of my soil to see if the water or the soil, if it's starting to dry out, because this potting mix, it really likes to stay moist. So you want to make sure that it is staying moist most of the week. And then you also, sorry, that's my dog. She wants to get in. Let me let her in. Come here. Come on. Okay, you gotta stay out of Mama's way though. Sorry, I have a dog. She is 14 years old and she's going through cognitive dysfunction. So she gets really stressed out if she can't find me. So she came and found me. I'm gonna let her in and she'll just chill. Anyway, so what I was saying is you do not want the soil to dry out. You wanna keep it moist. So I check this probably at least 3 times a week by sticking my finger in it to see. On the flip side, if you water it too much and your soil stays really soggy, or if the bottom of your pot, like this is my nursery pot, here's my decorative pot. If water accumulates into the bottom of my pot, and that means roots are sitting in water all the time, that's really bad for your plants. So like I said, I'm gonna show you how I water this plant, the proper way to water it, and how I do it all the time here shortly in the video. But you do not want this soil too soggy and you do not want it too dry. You have to find that sweet medium spot. So that's why a lot of people think these plants are divas, but to me they're so worth it because they're just striking and gorgeous. I mean, I love the details of most Calathea leaves. You know, you look at the detail of that, it's just not a boring, plain green leaf. And don't get me wrong, I love green leaves too. But I mean, look at the details in this one here as well. It's just, I don't know, they're just striking. I am so much in love with Calatheas. So to me, you have to work a little harder at them and really baby them and make sure they're okay. But when you know you're doing good and you see them thriving, it's just such a proud moment. So that is all the watering tips. So now let's move on to temperature. Just like I say with almost all of my houseplants, these tropical plants can easily be raised in the temperature that you have in your house. You wouldn't want it going below 65 degrees. You know, so my house is usually anywhere between 68 and 71, and that is perfect for these tropical plants. These plants do like humidity, but I don't feel like I have to overdo anything. So let me just give you a couple of ideas on how to increase humidity because they really do thrive and like it. Your first thing is you can mist them. So you can mist your leaves every once in a while with a mister or a spray bottle. You can add a humidifier or a diffuser next to your plants. You can also add, I have little teeny jars that I fill up with water and there's no lid on them. So water evaporates throughout the room and onto the plants. I'll show you a video here of how that works. Okay, so here's the shelf that a lot of my plants live on. And as you see, I've got these little bottles. They're glass bottles. They're filled with water with no tops on them. And that water just evaporates into the air, into your home, and also into your plants. And this will add humidity into your house and also into your plants. It works really good. So that can add extra humidity into the air in your plants. And then the next thing is you can use a pebble tray. So you just basically can put a pebble tray at the very bottom of these plants, fill it with water, and let them sit there. Same thing, it just adds more humidity in the air and into your plants. And then my last tip is place plants, like alike plants, air purifying plants next to each other. So if you have other Calatheas, you can put them next to these. I just have all my plants kind of clustered together. They love company and it helps increase humidity when they're next to each other. They're just happier plants when they have a buddy to sit by. If you have a plant that's just by itself over in the corner hanging out, it may not do as good. So if you have a plant that's like that and you just cannot keep it alive, you may want to consider putting another plant next to it and it could help out tremendously. So fertilizing these plants, I have to be 100% honest with you. I've had this plant since November. I have not fertilized it yet. I'm not too worried about it because we're in the winter months. And when it comes to fertilizing, a good rule of thumb is you want to fertilize well in the growing months, which is usually spring and summer. Now I still have been getting growth off of this, so I could probably fertilize it. But where it just came from a nursery not too long ago, I'm sure it's okay. So I'll start fertilizing this in the springtime. And usually when I fertilize my plants, I do it once a month, sometimes twice a month, just depending on if I feel like it needs it. And right now I'm still experimenting with fertilizer. It makes me nervous to use heavy fertilizer. I could kill my plants. I'm still really learning about how to use fertilizer and feel comfortable with it. So I just use an all-purpose fertilizer. I will try to show you the ones that I use right here on the screen. To me, they're just kind of foolproof. Maybe they're not the best thing to use, but that is kind of what I've been using lately. But that is something I do want to experiment with more and feel more comfortable because I honestly just don't feel super comfortable with fertilizing. But you definitely want to fertilize your plants. And like I said, you should do it more in the spring and summer months, and you can kind of slow, excuse me, you can kind of slow down in the winter months, just in general with all houseplants. So let's talk about pests with these type of plants. I know that they are prone to getting spider mites, mealybugs, thrip or something like that. I can't think what they're called. I personally have only had one issue, and it was with my Maranta. I can't think of what the full name of the plant is, but it's the one that has the red veins in it. I had bugs all over it. It freaked me out, and I just threw it away because I wasn't really comfortable. I've been doing a lot of research because I definitely don't want to keep throwing my plants away every time I find a bug. But let me give you a couple of tips on how you can prevent bugs from happening in the first place. And then as I develop any bugs, I will bring videos to you guys to show you what I do to get rid of them. Because that's definitely something that luckily I haven't been hit with a lot of bugs. But I think a lot of it has to do with the prevention that I do to prevent from getting them. One of the first things that you can do, and I think it's one of the most important things that you can do, is your leaves really need to be dusted. By dusting them, how I do it is I do a fine mist on all my leaves, and then I take a microfiber cloth and I dust off every leaf, front and back, and that is just going to remove any dust that you have, and it's going to remove any starting of new bugs that could be developing. And I think that's just a really good rule of thumb to do that. Another thing is if you don't overwater your plants, you really only water them when they need to. That is going to help your plant not get fungus. Fungus is something that really introduces bugs to your plants. So if you're overwatering your plants, you're going to have a good chance of getting pests on your leaves and in your soil and stuff like that. So if you water your plant correctly, and if you dust off your leaves. Another thing that I have heard is people that mist their plants or use humidifiers on them. It's best not to do it at nighttime before you're going to sleep. Usually if you spray your plants down at nighttime and then you turn your lights off and it's dark, your water that sits on those leaves will sit there all night long, and that can attract bugs, it can attract fungus. If you're going to spray your plants with mist or a spray bottle or use diffuser or humidifiers, it's best to do it during the day and then turn it off at a good time so that your water that accumulates on the leaves can evaporate off before the nighttime sets in, if that makes sense. So those are 3 things that I do to help me not get pests. I know that I'm going to get them eventually. It's going to freak me out. Like I said, I got it on the one and I threw it away. It was a clipping that I got from my friend. The plant hadn't developed all that much. I didn't pay any money for it, so I just threw it away. And I feel bad because I really need to learn how to take care of that. But I've done research. I feel well equipped on how to do that. So when that happens, I'm definitely going to bring a video that shows you what I do and how it worked and all that good stuff. So that is my advice on how to prevent pests on your plant. So what if your leaves are starting to brown on the edges, or what if they're turning yellow or starting to wilt? Couple things could be happening. Usually if you're seeing yellow leaves, it could mean that you're overwatering it. But then if those leaves turn brown, it might mean that you're underwatering it. So when you see stuff like that happen, just really pay attention to your soil and what's been going on with it. You may want to try to pull the plant completely out of the pot and see if you have root rot going on. You may need to replant it or repot it because you've got root bound. There's just a lot of things that could be going on. But honestly, sometimes leaves just die. Sometimes it's the end of their life. That's just how it happens. Sometimes a leaf can start and look great and it just dies. So when that happens, I don't beat myself too much over it. I just clip it off. You want to clip it off because then you want the energy of the plant and the growing juices that your plant has, sorry, I can't think of the right word, to go to the rest of your plant. You don't want the energy of the plant to go to that dying leaf. So I'm constantly picking off dying leaves, but honestly, I've had to come to the conclusion with my plants that they're not all gonna be perfect. Some leaves are gonna brown, some leaves are gonna yellow, some leaves are gonna die, and it's okay. But if it's happening a lot, you may just wanna kind of take a quick inventory on what could be happening. Make sure you're not overwatering it, make sure you're not underwatering it, check the bottom, make sure it's not root rot, or make sure you're not root bound. Those are kind of the things that could be happening. Or like I said, it could just be the end of that leaf's life and it's just ready to go. So don't beat yourself up too much over it. I used to do that when any little teeny thing went wrong, and I don't have time for that. So I just accept it and love it the way it is. But like, honestly, this plant is pretty damn perfect. If you look at it, it is just so healthy and gorgeous. It's funny because my husband, who thinks I'm a crazy plant lady, he's always commenting on this plant. He thinks it's really cool and healthy looking, and I think he really likes it. It's really cool. I do have some new growth. I'll try to open up the plant and videotape the new growth that I have going on, but they're just gorgeous. I'm in love with it. It is nighttime, so some of the leaves are starting to stand up. Like I said, I'll post some pictures here at the end of the video that shows you what it looks like at night and what it looks like during the day. Show you the new growth. I'm gonna show you how I properly water it. But yeah, that is pretty much all the plant care tips that I know so far about this plant. Like I said, I've owned it since November, so December, Jan. I've only owned it 2 months, but so far it's doing good. I'm really happy with it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful for you. If you have any questions for me, let me know down below in the comments. And if you are new here, I'd love to have you stick around and subscribe, become part of my plant family. So hit that red subscribe button down below, turn on the notification bell so you're notified each and every time I upload. And say hi down in the comments if you're new. I'd love to get to know you. The plant community is awesome. You feel like you're not alone. My family thinks I'm crazy. I'm constantly talking about plants. They don't relate to me. So it's awesome when you can relate to someone else out there that's a plant mom or a plant dad. And you know, you're kind of on the same level and you don't feel like such a nerd, but that's okay. I don't mind being a nerd because this brings me joy and happiness. So, all right, I'm gonna let you guys go. I'm gonna be doing a house plant tour really soon. I love watching those videos, so I'm going to do one where I can walk you around my house. I can introduce you and show you to all the plants that I have. I'm really excited to do that, so that'll probably be my next 1 or 2 videos ahead from now. So, all right, I'll let you guys go. Have a great week ahead. Bye, guys. So to water my plants, I bring it over to my sink. As you see here, here's the water that I have had sitting out for a few days. I water it over the sink, and your goal here is to get the water to drain out of the bottom of your draining holes from your nursery pot. That is key to really making sure all of the soil gets moist with the water. And then as you see here, after I've given it a good water, I let it sit on a mat and just drain for a while. I leave it alone for about 5-10 minutes, come back, make sure it is not draining, and then go ahead and put it in the pot. That way water doesn't accumulate down at the bottom. And then moving on here, I just wanted to kind of show you the 2 plants that we talked about here, mainly the Calathea Medallion, but I just wanted to show you it is nighttime, they're starting to raise, and I just wanted to give you a closer look at how beautiful these plants are. So we'll take the rest of the time on this video just to kind of give you a closer look. I'll show you some new growth that's on my medallion. I hope you guys enjoy. I'll be back soon with some more plant care.